All right, continuing with the 14th chapter of The Indian in the Cupboard. Omri, Patrick, Little Bear, and Boone were all watching TV together. It was a Cowboys and Indians movie, which Omri thought was a bad idea to watch, and he was right because it got Boone all excited and gung-ho about how his dad killed like 15 or 20 Indians one time, and Little Bear, in response to that, shot Boone in the chest with an arrow. Now they need to figure out whether Boone is alive or dead. Little Bear, come here. Omri's voice was steely, a voice Mr. Johnson himself might have envied. It commanded obedience. Little Bear, scrambling to his feet after his fall, walked unsteadily to Omri's hand. Get up there and see if you've killed him. Without a word, Little Bear climbed onto the edge of Omri's hand and knelt down beside the prostrate Boone. He laid his ear against his chest just below the arrow. He listened, then straightened up without looking at either of the boys. Not killed, he said sullenly. Omri felt his breath go out in relief. Take the arrow out. Carefully. If he dies now, it'll be doubly your fault. Little Bear put one hand on Boone's chest with his fingers on either side of the arrow, and with the other took hold of the shaft where it went into Boone's body. Blood come. Need stop up hole. Omri's mother kept boxes of tissues in every room, mainly so nobody would have an excuse to sit sniffling. Patrick jumped up and brought this, tearing off a tiny corner and rolling it into a wad no bigger than a pinhead. Now it's got germs on it from your hand, said Omri. Where's the disinfectant? In the bathroom cupboard. Don't let my mum see you. While Patrick was gone, Omri sat motionless and silent, his eyes fixed on Little Bear, still poised to pull out the arrow. After a very long minute, the Indian muttered something. Omri bent his head low. What? Little Bear's sorry. Omri straightened up, his heart cold and untouched. You'll be a lot sorrier if you don't save him. Save him, was all he said. Patrick raced back with the bottle of Listerine. He poured a drop onto the lid and dipped the little ball of tissue into it. Then he held the cap close to Little Bear. Go on, Omri ordered. Pull it out. Little Bear seemed to brace himself. Then he began to tremble. Little Bear not do. Little Bear not doctor. Get doctor back. He no make wound good. We can't, said Omri shortly. The magic's gone. You must do it. Do it now. Now, Little Bear. Again the Indian stiffened, closed his hand tightly around the arrow. Slowly and steadily he drew it out, and threw it aside. Then, as the blood welled out over Boone's checkered shirt, Little Bear swiftly squeezed the liquid out of the ball of tissue and pressed it against the wound. Use your knife now. Cut the dirty shirt away. Without hesitating, Little Bear obeyed. Boone lay still. His face, under its tan, had turned ashy gray. We need a bandage, said Patrick. There's nothing we can use, and we can't move him to wrap it around him. We'll have to use a tiny bit of Band-Aid. Again, Patrick went to the bathroom. Again, Omri, Little Bear, and Boone were left alone. Little Bear knelt now with his hands loose on his thighs, his head down, his shoulders rose and fell once. Was he sobbing with shame or fear? Could it be sorrow? Patrick returned with a box of Band-Aids and a pair of nail scissors. He cut out a square big enough to cover the whole of Boone's chest, and Little Bear stuck it on with great care, and even, Omri thought, tenderness. Now, said Omri, take your chief's cloak and cover him up warmly. This, too, Little Bear did uncomplainingly. We'll take him upstairs and put him to bed, said Omri. Oh, God, I wish I had that key and I could get that doctor back. As they walked slowly upstairs, he told Patrick about the First World War soldier he had brought to life to tend Little Bear's leg wound. We've got to find that key, said Patrick. We've just got to. Little Bear, still at Boone's side on Omri's hand, said nothing. In Omri's room, Patrick made a bed for the cowboy from a folded handkerchief and another wooden square cut from Omri's sweater. Omri slipped a bit of thin, stiff card between Boone and his own hand, and on this he transferred the wounded man without too much disturbance, which might have started the bleeding again. He was still unconscious. Little Bear silently stood by. Suddenly he moved. Reaching up, he snatched off the chief's headdress and threw it violently onto the ground. Before Omri could stop him, he began jumping on it, and in a second or two all the beautiful tall turkey feathers were bent and broken. Leaving it lying there, Little Bear took off across the carpet, running as hard as he could over the deep woolen tufts, stumbling sometimes, but running always in the direction of the seed box and his house. Patrick moved, but Omri said quietly, "Let him alone." And that is the end of chapter 14.